My name's DC from Civics Commando, and I'm here with Sergeant Rob Bambi, PTI of
20 years.
20 years, 20 million years, Royal Marines, more experience than most. So, Rob's recently got a master's in nutrition, the sort of go-to guy for us for everything about food and the right sort of nutrition to be having when you're training and things like that. And Rob's coming on to our team in a sort of big way with the training programs and the nutrition side of things. And what I wanted to do today is basically have a chat with Rob and just pick his brains on nutrition. So if you're someone looking to join the Royal Marines, maybe you live at home with your mum and dad like I was still when I was 16 and sort of preparing for it. I thought if I just drank eggs and that's protein and that's gains and it's all good. Didn't realise why I was throwing up on runs. So I had no idea what I was doing and the information wasn't out there then. So we want to try and put something back in here. If you're looking to join up and you want to know about food, about nutrition, that's what we're trying to cater for here. So I suppose, Rob, thanks for joining us.
Cheers.
And yeah, could you tell us a little bit about your, experience, PTI, nutrition, masters, things like that?
Yeah, so she joined the Corps 20 years ago. 12 years of it's been spent as a Royal Marines Physical Training instructor, so working with recruit teams, and then also section commander jobs at 40 Commando, and then recent job CLI unit PTI. During that time, got into interest in human performance, started my undergrad degree for strength conditioning at Bucks Uni, progressed onto that, enjoyed the nutrition module, and then on completion looked at what I could go on to next for a master's, and then that's why I started applied sport nutrition at Twickenham St Mary's, and I've just completed that this past month.
Nice, mate. So, but that was a bit of a head fuck.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Yeah, pushed the ceiling on that one.
Yeah, good, mate, good. So, right, I'm a sort of potential Royal Marine. I'm looking to join up, and like I said, I don't know anything. I don't know anything about food. Where do I need to start? So what is there? I've heard of like proteins and carbs and fats and stuff. What can you tell me? What do I need to know?
Yeah, so the first thing you need to look at is, before you think about your macronutrients, is you need to get your calories in. And your calories are going to determine your weight and how you function mainly. If you're in a calorie deficit, you're going to lose weight. This can be from fat, lean muscle mass, which you generally want to avoid. If you put on too much, or calorie surplus, so you eat more than your body needs, that's then where, small cases, you can develop lean mass, the good stuff. However, the far extreme is then when you start putting unwanted weight, increased fat, which can affect your performance. So the key thing anyone needs to get down is nailing what their calorie demands are. And this can just be predicted, and then you just adjust from there. There's loads of online calculators where you can work out your base metabolic rates. That's just you to function. And that's going to work on your age, your gender, your weight, and then that will give you a set score from that, say 1,800 calories. And then, depending on, next thing you look at is how active you are. Someone who is sedentary is going to be quite low, doesn't have an active job, doesn't train much, they're going to be quite low, so you don't need to times it by much.
So sedentary is someone who's not so active, basically.
Yeah, pretty much like look at someone who doesn't walk to work, desk job, doesn't go to the gym.
Sounds like our mate Ginge, doesn't it?
Yeah, pretty much Ginge. Yeah. Down to a T. And then at the end of the spectrum, if you've got someone who's training twice a day, look at your other Marines, they want to be an active person. They would then look at sort of times that BMR by like 2.4% to then get their calories, which could then work out, say, something like 3,000 calories. So
someone who's training for the Royal Marines, maybe training once or twice a day, doing a run and then a circuit, something like that, they need more fuel, like a car, doing a longer drive, a faster drive,
exactly
more fuel to keep them going.
Yeah, exactly that. If you're under fueling, you're not going to perform. After a while, you're going to start losing weight, you're going to start picking up injuries, illnesses, sicknesses. Saying that you need to make sure that you're meeting your demands. And everyone is different, no one size fits all. It's really individualised down to T, and then just basically just seeing how it works. There's no perfect matter, you just got to give it a bit of time as well. A lot of people expect to take one day on a calorie deficit and wake up next morning seeing the abs.
Yeah.
It doesn't work as quick as that. It's a long process.
It doesn't work like that, trust me, I've tried. So I suppose, straight line here, that's your sort of maintenance calories here, right? So, and this is where it comes in with the one size does not fit all. The blanket approach doesn't work here. So a deficit, what you're saying there about, losing weight, is when your calorie intake would be below that amount. You've taken away an amount of calories to form a deficit, a gap, right? Surplus is if you're eating above that.
Exactly, yeah.
But then you add in your training. So if you're training quite a lot, if you're training quite a lot, the amount of calories you need would become higher.
Exactly.
Yeah. And if you weren't training, you were, what was the really cool word you used? for someone who doesn't train too much.
Sedentary.
Sedentary, yeah, sweet. But that comes down a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because they don't require as much fuel, and that's why this sort of blanket approach doesn't work, because no one's doing the exact same amount of exercise output, steps per day, runs, training, whatever. Everyone's different, right?
Yeah, exactly that.
So, right, calories. I always hear people, doing it, and they're tracking their calories, and they're tracking, and they're going to Boots, and they're picking up the meal deal, and they're scanning their crisps, and they're tracking the calories. What's all that about? Why are people doing that? And do I need to do that if I'm preparing for them?
If you're wanting to keep to an aim, tracking your calories can be a good thing. So you know exactly what you're doing, you're on the right track. If you don't count your calories too much, or you don't track them to a degree, there is a chance where then you could be, if you're trying to be in a calorie surplus, to put a bit of lean muscle mass, meet your training needs. If you're not tracking your calories, there could be a chance you're under-eating. And it's quite around that a lot of people are just under-eating or not thinking they're getting or they think they're overeating, but they're actually not.
I hear this all the time, like lads going, I need to put on weight, I've tried everything, I just don't get it, my body doesn't put on weight. And I'm like, so what you're having? Well, I have Cocoa Pops for breakfast, my sandwich for lunch, and then just whatever mum and dad make for tea. And that's what I would have done when I was younger. And I would have thought that's enough.
If you don't know,
It's not enough food, is it?
No. You need sort of, so easy, everyone's going to be different. Their needs, wants, what they prefer and all that. And obviously, again, if you're living at home with mum, you do your own cooking, it's going to be hard. And you've just got to sort of, the initial stage, look at tracking your calories to a little bit, understand what is in each sort of meal, what protein consists of calorie-wise, fats, how they're different. And again, then after you get more used to it, you can then sort of be a bit less rigid structured with it and just go on gauging what it looks and feels. Again, every now and again, just reassess it, see what it looks like. Are you still making the same thing? I'm the same. Now when I first started doing stuff, I'd measure stuff out. Now I know if I pot of Greek yogurt, about that much is going to give me X amount of calories, X amount of protein, the carbohydrates, fats.
So you almost don't need to get into this mega obsessive mindset.
You don't need to be
about
obsessive
weighing my
about
broccoli, and that's one too many pieces of rice. I can't have that,
Exactly
or I'm gonna
that.
And I think I tell people, and I don't know what your sort of gauge is on this, but younger people nowadays, they want to know everything, and they want the science, and they want I want to track my calories because everyone's doing it, blah, blah, blah. And it's great. I fully agree with it, but you've got the mindset worry of, and I fell into this trap. I've got so obsessed with my food before that I felt if I didn't have the perfect food on that day, I wouldn't perform as well.
Yeah.
And if my routine of what I would have for food at certain times before my rugby match wasn't right, I'm not going to play well today because that was off and I didn't have that meal and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And what I say to people is track your food, get it right, get it good. But no, you're not training to be an athlete. You're not training to be a professional athlete when everything's done for you. You're training to be a sort of Royal Marine. You'll go to Lympstone, you'll be on galley food that is fill yourself up on full English. Yeah. Then you got pasta, then you got burgers, then you got toast at 9:00. Yeah. And when you go in the field, you're on rations, menu C, corned beef hash, chocolate bar, biscuit browns. So to counteract it, yes, track it, yes, be on top of it, yes, get the right stuff in. But no, when you get to Lympstone and you get thrown rations for a week, you still need to be able to go, well, this is okay. I have to be able to still perform the same on food that's not perfect.
Exactly that.
What's your take on that mindset that people can slip into?
Yeah, it can be, for the wrong reason, it can become obsessive, or then it can affect people. If I haven't had the right eggs in the morning, or haven't had that my avocado toast, sometimes it doesn't matter. Sometimes the best pre-workout meal is a jam bagel. It doesn't have to be mega sciencey sounding, some sort of supplement shake, magic pill or whatever. It's just do whatever the best you can, because different budgets is going to be different. Someone can get the organic chicken, someone can get the unprocessed stuff. And sometimes it's a case of all you've got in the fridge freezer, because all you can afford is the chicken nuggets. It's the chicken nuggets, that's what you're going to have. But if you can prove it, you can where you can. And then say Rome's training, accept the fact that the galley's going to send you a set thing. They will focus on making sure you've got calories and carbohydrates going into you. You may then need to think for recovery thing. I need to make sure that I'm going down the shop and getting a pint of milk before I go to bed, to what I can do the next. And it's always about just trying to be the next step up that you can do in the situation. Same as someone's going to go in the field, you've got the set menu, eat your rations. Don't ditch everything you can, because you need the calories. Calories is the key thing to keep you long going. You then might think, okay, there's not actually much in it I like. I'm going to make sure I put a tuna sachet in this. There's a bit more protein in there. Or I don't really agree with the drink, so I'm going to put a few sweets in there. So there's quick acting carbohydrates when I'm just finished an action. It's all about just trying to be that next step up. It doesn't have to be perfect. Nothing will ever be perfect. So
in the military especially.
In the military especially, things are getting better, but it's getting to the masses as well. And sometimes you just got a little bit of understanding. You don't need to be obsessed with it, and just try. If you can improve something, improve it. So say, key thing is calories getting in. It's then looking at the quality of calories you're getting. So if your mum's been getting chicken nuggets from the freezer every day, try and get frozen chicken breast. That's the next level. And then if you're getting better, then the organic chicken, the large chicken breasts, the next step up. Just because then, for the amount of protein you're going to get in that chicken breast, you would have to consume 2-3 times more than what you would get from the chicken nuggets to get the same protein needs. But then, because you're consuming 2-3 times more than that, you're then going into the risk of excessive calories going over, which is then going to affect your performance.
Because I remember with the calorie side of it down at Livingston back when I went through training, and it was just like, I think one of the corporals, someone said, just if there's food, eat it.
Yeah.
If you have time to eat food, eat it. Don't worry, just get it in you, You need the calories because, I mean, we probably don't know the exact number, but how many calories do you reckon you're burning through in commando training? It's got to be serious numbers, more than the normal human being.
They're looking to around about in the marks of like 4,000 calories, give or take either side, depending on your individual. And that
That's
is
crazy, isn't it?
Because you're running around a day, training twice a day, working into the evening, doing stuff, you are like a furnace burning.
So let's just go back to that then. We said, so the sort of guideline amount for a male is what, 2,500?
2,500 calories, yeah.
And if
standard UK population.
If most people are under eating, let's say we're at 1,900.
Yeah.
But in commando training, you need double.
Exactly that.
So that already is saying if those numbers are off, you're not going to perform right. You're not going to make it through training.
And it's just going to knock an effect. You're going to feel fatigued. Your body's not going to recover, repair. You're probably not getting the amount of macronutrients you're getting from meeting your calorie demands. Then what you can also then see is, obviously, as mentioned, you go into a deficit, you're going to lose weight. However, your body isn't just going to be like, well, we're just going to strip the fat off. You're still going to lose lean muscle mass. And the lean mass, your muscles, is the stuff that you need to make sure you're running fast, jumping, landing, absorbing force, tolerating force. And if you're under eating your calories, that's going to come away as well, and then you're going to be high risk of injury and illness, which is what you don't want.
No.
It's going to keep you at Livingston a lot longer than you need to.
Food's good, get it in you.
Food's good, get it in you.
Yeah,
it might not be your favourite way they cook potatoes, and I think at the end of the day, you've got to grow up a little bit with it. Get the veg in you. If you don't, it's not your favourite veg, just eat it. Yeah. Get the calories in. Try and get protein as much as you can. Be cheeky, get the extra portion protein if you can. A few more carbs, and then just understand that if it didn't feel enough, have a plan B to, a couple of sachets of tuna you got. Top it with that as we move throughout the day.
Class, mate. So I heard you touching there on like proteins, carbs, fats. Proteins are my favourite.
Proteins everything.
Yeah. So let's get to that one last. Let's start at carbs. So carbohydrates, carbs. I hear lots of different things. No carbs before marbs. I watch Shred Up. You know what I mean?
Carbs work differently after 8 o'clock and
that's
all
it.
that.
That's it. So just give us a bit of a spiel on carbs, mate.
Yeah, carbs is basically your body's preferred fuel, especially when maximum intensity is over 60% VO2 max. So think about like your long, hard beasting, so the guys doing high rocks, CrossFit, that's where your body's going to be relying on carbohydrates. Gets massively demonised due to being linked to obesity, just because they are easy to consume, very least satiating. If you were to have like, a pack of biscuits, high in carbs, doesn't fill you up, you go for more. But if you're training a lot, your body needs carbohydrates to basically fuel muscle glycogen, for your muscles to work during them high intensities. Your body can use other sources, so it can use protein, it can be broken down to fuel. Fats can also be used, however, they take a lot longer for your body to utilise, or you've got to slow the effort down for your body to utilise a bit more fats to fuel yourself moving, which if you're in training, you've got to be somewhere as fast as you can, meet a timeline for a run, bottom field. You can't slow down, your body needs to be fueled to perform adequately. And ideally for guys, everyone's around the world probably underfuels in carbohydrates. Low studies on it. People think, you should be getting about 5 grams per kilogram of body weight for carbohydrates. Very few people meet that. When I did my study for my dissertation, I think I found like the average for people in list regimen was about 3 grams, and they were training twice a day, fair few times a week.
Wow.
Their body needs a lot more, so you can risk really affecting your performance by not getting your carbohydrates in. And two types, you've got the complex, obviously simple. Complex would be like your whole grains, your brown rice, your brown pastas. Take a lot of time to break down the body. Don't spike blood glucose as much, so there's less of an insulin response, and that can keep you going throughout the day. And then obviously simple ones, which get demonised a lot more, such as like your white breads, jams, Rice Krispie cakes, all that. deemed as unhealthy, but if you slip on the head that, yes, they're not great if you are sedentary sat at home. The worst thing, like Lucozade Sport, don't crack that when you just sit at Netflix and chill. It is not needed. However, if you're training, long run, tempo run, doing a workout, that is where you need your simple carbs because they're easy to break down, they're going to cause less stomach upset, and they're going to fuel your session. And ideally, you want some sort of carbohydrates before your session. Anything over an hour training, if you're doing a long run, sort of playing sport, anything like that, you would then look at something to fuel during. And then as soon as you've finished, just something else to replenish muscle glycogen so that you're ready for the next day. Okay. Don't sort of hinder it. It's like sort of beginning, middle, end. Just then, if you were to train twice a day, you've got fuel for the next session going into it, or just to keep yourself functioning throughout the day as well, so you don't sort of slump that as the day goes on.
So I want to put this into the perspective of the person watching this now, and they're thinking, I'm 16, I'm training for the Royal Marines, for the Army, for the military, for whatever, right? Yeah. So carbs, you spoke about complex. So if I'm going out training, if I'm going to go, I'm going to the gym later, what would be a good order before, during and after of my carbs, examples of what I could eat and things like that, because I don't really know what to eat.
Yeah. How far you want to go about with it, sort of 3 hours out, that's where you can sort of have complex carbs, sort of, as we're talking about quality of food, so like your brown rice, brown pastas in a meal, spaghetti bolognese would be a perfect one, and high fibre as well you're going to get from it. As you're getting close to your training, you then kind of want to make it a bit more simple because your body needs to be able to break it down. It's no point having an hour before, a big bowl of brown rice pasta. It's going to sit heavy on you.
You're not going to have got the effects of that yet.
Yeah, your body, you're going to vomit at the back up. Classic scenes where I think Alfie Barber at Bath, where you saw him end of the game. You're going to be doing that sort of sketch because your body needs a long time to break that down. Hour out from your training, you're going to look at something around like 30 grams of carbohydrates. This can be, as I said, the jam bagel, Lucozade Sport. These are really simple. Drinks can be processed by the body really easily. Rice Krispie cakes, one thing I give my kids for a swimming session, just when they're going to be working hard. Something as simple as that. Doesn't need, again, to be groundbreaking. During your session, if it's an hour long, something like that, you can probably rely on what you've eaten beforehand to fuel that session. If it's going on for an hour, you're then going to look when I added a bit more. So if guys are sort of doing long walks out on the peaks and all that, something like simple as a flapjack, like an energy drink, energy balls, bounce balls, something like that. Drinks to go along the way. You need to adjust it. Don't go straight. If you've never done it before, a lot of people think, okay, I need to be getting 50, 30, 60 grams of carbohydrates during a long walk. I'm going to take 2 flapjacks. Try and nail the flapjacks, and they find out that is the wrong choice to do. You've got to build into it, otherwise, you're just going to end up vomiting again, which again will affect your performance. And then as soon as you've completed, you're then looking to get, there's different gauges. Generally looking to get a good hit of carbohydrates after the session, especially if it's been intense, just to refuel that. Tighten with a bit of protein, and one I always recommend to guys, and it sounds the worst way of saying, but is like chocolate milkshake. Yeah. Best, it's got protein in it, carbohydrates in it, calcium, it hydrates you as well. It's like the best all in one. Yeah. Cheaper if you are on a budget as well, and you can't afford go for supplements or anything like that. It's convenient as well. That's in the fridge, just have it there, good to go when you finish session, and it's also a lot easier to consume than, say, having a big bowl of chicken pasta.
So you've said loads of things there that I didn't even think I would be able to have as a potential Roman candidate. You said jam bagels, you said chocolate milk and things like that. Like, I wouldn't even thought that. It's
just a simple thing. Everyone thinks it's got to be like, cutting air, like fueling.
Grilled air fried.
Simple as jam bagels. During, if you fueled beforehand, it's a short session, you don't need to wear it during. Longer sessions, like when you see powerlifters doing 3 hours in the gym, they need to fuel because they're going on for a lot longer. And then, before and afterwards as well, to sort of replenish your glycogen, repair your muscles that you've done damage from a bit of protein, and then obviously hydrate as well.
Cool. So I suppose to wrap up on carbs, Bambi's top 3 tips for carbs. Carbs aren't bad.
Carbs aren't bad. They're not the enemy.
They're not the enemy. What else have we had there? Simple.
Simple. Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be complex. It can be simple. Yeah. Go on.
Have it as like complex. You think about it as away from your training, same as where you put your fats. It's closely around your training. You want it nice and simple because your body will abuse it a lot better. So people are going about you take some carbohydrates, blood sugar spikes and all that. If you're training, your blood sugar will not spike. It needs that carbohydrate fuel to fuel itself. You aren't going to get negative effects. The problem is if you are sedentary, you are sat at home living your 600-pound life. That is where there's the issue with carbs. However, if you're an active individual, you need them.
So I suppose that leads on nicely to a third point we could say would be timing, about carbs around training. Like around that area. We spoke about preparation in another video, but preparation's not 10 minutes before fizz doing your warm-up. It's you've eaten your carbs 3 hours before, and then you've got your ones closer to it. And things like that.
And even when they look at sport as well, day before game day, they're carb loading then because they need the carbohydrates for the next day to go in. Yeah, it's not just, an hour out, we'll start thinking about it. You know, day in advance sometimes, like same for guys in training. If you know there's an exercise coming up, day before, start loading the carbs a little bit more. You're still going to be training hard, you're still going to be a bit more, but don't think, so a lot of the mindset is, well, I'm going to be deficit down there anyway, I might as well be used to it. That's the worst advice you can do. You need to go in a better situation, so at least then when you are in the deficit, you are in the worst place, the drop-off isn't as quick as you already going in a worse state.
I was probably doing that back in training without even realising it. I was just like, I'm going to be on rations for 3 days now. I'm going to eat everything in this galley before I go, like every last bit, and make use of it. But yeah, greedy chops here. So we've nailed carbs, mate. I think, could we go into fats? So I suppose I'm looking to join up, and I've heard that fats will make me fat. Fats are bad. What's the crack with fats? What can you tell me and educate me about fats?
Yes, fats are useful. Different types, monounsaturated, polyunsaturated. Generally what you'll get from like avocados, olive oil. You have your saturated fats, which you'll find from like animal products. So everything about your mince, beef, steaks and all that. And then obviously you've got trans fats, generally what you'll find from like American products, sweets in the shops and all that. Trans fats definitely want to be avoided due to its health, cardiovascular diseases. Saturated fats sometimes get a bad rep, but they are quite vital for hormone production. So if you're again trying to grow, develop, you need hormones to be optimal that way. And then monounsaturated, polyunsaturated fats are just there for good general health as well. So, and also with fats, you need them in your body just because sometimes some vitamins will not break down without fats there present. And that's the key thing. They're really good for general health. Fats can be used as a fuel source during low intensities of exercise. And if you sort of break down anything below 60%, your body, and as we're sitting right now, our body will be utilising fats to fuel movement.
So I can use fats around my training too, and I can,
generally limit them around training because they are quite hard to break down. So again, as I said, like that sort of 3 hour window before, that's where you would look to have more fats in your meal. As you're getting close to your training, focus more on carbohydrates. And then after your training, get that initial hit to replenish, but then your next main meal, fats again, they're just making. And then just look at the type of food you're having as well. If you were to have sort of mince, easy way of getting your fats in there. Nuts, pistachios, like that sort of thing. That's an easy way of getting fats in as well.
And I see things like, he said mince there, and there's like the normal mince, it's like 20% fat. And then I see like the 5% fat one, which has got less fat. So that'll make me less fat, right? Is that good? Is that bad?
Again, it comes down to calories. Yeah. The leaner mince is going to have less calories. And the cooking, the 20% is going to have more calories in. Both have their own needs. So if you are struggling to, you work out, you need 3,000 calories a day. The 20% mince can help you out because it's got a high calorie content. However, if you've got a good plan, you've got it nailed, you can sort of use the lean mince to focus then more that from your diet, you get a bit more out from your protein, you get more from your carbohydrates. Whereas if you were to sort of have the fats, that's again where, because every gram of fat is 9 calories in comparison to protein and carbohydrates, which is 4. So again, there's a high calorie count there. So they're really good to meet the sort of gap. If you are short a couple hundred calories, add a bit more fat, sort of, or a few more handful of nuts is an easy way to bump them numbers up.
However, so fats are really high in your calories then. So if I was having a peanut butter jam bagel, for every bit of peanut butter I put on, double and more the amount of jam would be exactly the same calories.
And it's saying when people are cooking, they don't sort of factor in that,
oil.
I always cook with feeling. So it's like, and the difference between a tablespoon and a teaspoon of oil is massive in calories. So again, sometimes where people are, I'm tracking my calories, I'm doing this, but I'm still putting on weight, nothing's changing. Generally because, and I found this as well, is people don't think about the calories in oil. It's sort of, I don't think about it. It's like your missus nicking your chips, them calories don't count.
Yeah.
They don't think about the oil, and then when actually you tot it up, you could be getting like 500 calories you've just not figured out. And if we're talking about your aims, you think you're at maintenance and you've not calculated your oil, that could be actually putting you in a higher surplus, which is then when too high, you're going to start putting that unwanted weight, which is going to affect your performance.
And you get them like 1 calorie sprays, don't you, and stuff like that? So that'd be a way to counteract the amount.
Yeah, that can be a nice way of doing it. I hate them with a passion because I find that I start putting about 50 elsewhere. I'm just completely avoid it. But if that's something that you need to do, that's an easy way of doing it. I always just cook with olive oil. That's my preferred option. There's other ones out there you can use.
That's all that time you spent over in Italy, mate, isn't it? Coming out. Yeah. Nice. So to put back to the watcher then, so fats aren't bad either?
They're not, nothing in moderation is bad.
Right.
You can overconsume fats too easily. You're going to put weight on. You can only live on fats. You can be underweight. It's sort of everything's going to be with moderation. They're needed. They're essential. If you try and cut fats out, you're going to start having hormonal problems. Your body's going to have to utilize certain vitamins as well. And it's an easy way sometimes just making sure you're meeting your calories is just to make a spag bowl, drizzle a bit of extra virgin olive oil on there, just to make sure you are getting the calorie needs. Really simple things.
So to these people maybe watching it that are joining the Royal Marines and they're like, oh, I'm struggling to put weight on, easy one. Some extra oil, extra peanut butter, extra things like that.
Yeah.
Really easy win for adding extra calories in.
Yeah.
And you don't feel like you're having to eat loads.
No. Yeah, peanut butter's a great one. A little bit of protein. Obviously, people think it's a protein source. It is a fat end of the day. Yeah. But again, that's just an easy thing. Pair it with your jam bagel for after session as well. So, it's just an easy fix as well. It doesn't have to be technical. It doesn't have to be a full-on meal. Sometimes simple is the best. Cool.
Bambi's top 3 tips on fats. Go on, shoot for us.
Top 3 tips on fats. Again, they're not the enemy. No food is the enemy. Be careful, monosaturated, polyunsaturated are the ones you want to aim for, and definitely avoid trans fats where you can.
Avoid
trans fats. They tend to be found in the more tasty things, which is a problem. But if you can avoid them, that is the best thing. And then just try and focus on getting a balanced thing. They're really great for anti-inflammation as well. So if someone's training hard a long times, sort of oily fish, things that have omega-3 in, that's going to be really beneficial for sort of reducing inflammation for someone as well.
Cool. Fats nailed. Carbs and fats. Favourite one, protein?
Protein, the best.
So I hear loads about protein, like protein shakes and gains and blah, 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 and protein chocolate bars and all this stuff. And I just want to know, what do I need to know about protein? And does that give me big muscles? And what's the crack? And how does it work?
Yeah, everyone sort of thinks you take a protein shake and next morning wake up jacked.
Unfortunately,
protein is everything you are and do. Everyone just thinks it's for like a sort of repairing thing. Your whole body function of your hormone, your immune system comes down to protein. Everything you move and contract on muscles are protein. It is pretty much everything you are, you need protein. So if you were to limit protein from your diet, you're going to have certain issues in firstly for repairing your muscles from a session, but then obviously, illness is going to come along quicker just because you haven't got them proteins available to your body. Generally found common ones, meat. If you see every meat product you have, then obviously for those who are vegan, vegetarian, where then you've got tofu, beans, pulses, that sort of stuff.
Yum.
The better, yeah. And again, people sort of seem to demonise, animal foods are bad, plants are best, or plants don't do this, animals are the best, carnivore diet. People rant that it's the only way forward. Again, it's just the same as everything else. Moderation's key. Work out what you need. Your whole diet doesn't need to be protein. General population recommends, sort of around about 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. If people are training for the Royal Marines, then that's going to be too little for what they're doing demands. If someone sort of works out their body weight at their 1.4 grams per kilogram body weight,
so if I'm 80 kilos, then 1.4, you cut. Oh, damn, I should have used.
You should have said 100 kilos, and we'd have been fine. We said 140 grams of
protein.
If
I'm 100 kilos, then I'm a big potential Royal Marine.
Yeah.
I need 140 grams of protein per day. Okay.
And that's just the minimum amount. Again, a lot of recommendations say if you're doing strength training, you could go up to 2 grams. If someone's in a calorie deficit, they recommend a bit more, just to offset sort of lean muscle mass loss. As we already talked about, you go in a deficit, your body will lose fat as well as lean mass. Higher protein account is going to allow you to sort of offset that a little bit. And again, but you need to tie this in with resistance training. They sort of go hand in hand with each other. It's pointless doing a high protein diet if you're not resistance training.
Yeah. I've heard people say that you can have too much protein and then it's a waste. It's wasted. Is that true?
No, that used to be sort of old evidence based on sort of really limited studies. As more and more is coming out, it's the main focus is to get the amount of protein in is important. And there's even a recent study where they did 100 grams bolus and the protein was utilised. It was, it depends on the demand. Again, if you're sedentary, you probably won't need that much in your system. If you're doing a lot of training, your body will utilise what it needs. And the key thing is getting the total amount of protein first, and then you can sort of look to spread it out throughout the day. And the best thing about protein is that it keeps you sort of fuller feeling for longer as well. So then again, if you're having to hit your protein amount, you're getting your calories from that straight away, but then you're also less likely to snack on as the day goes on, just because you've got a more fuller feeling. If you're I always find as well, if I've sort of missed the window of protein, that's when the snacks come easy. It's easy over consuming other things.
So I've heard that I need protein within the hour, the anabolic window after I finish training. Yeah. Is that true?
The goal now, no, it's sort of as long as you're getting protein is the key thing. Anabolic window is pushed right out post-training. Right. It's just general ease, convenience. If you can have something there and then, it's just sort of getting your body to maximise what it can. And your body's really receptive to that initial bit. So it just makes sense. You got something ready to go, get it down your neck, just to start beginning that repair and recovery process. If you were to wait sort of 2 hours, you're still not going to be debilitating your body. Just it's not as best as just getting something in is the key thing.
Yeah. So something quick and easy afterwards could be like a protein shake, protein powder.
Yeah.
Mixed with water. I've always found body breaks it down easier than with milk or something like that. I used to want to use milk straight after, but I found it sat on my stomach.
Yeah.
Water broke down a bit
That's
easier.
just the general preference as well.
Everyone's different.
Everyone tolerates differently. The key thing you want to make sure you're getting is, post-session at least 25 grams of protein. I recommend for guys if they're doing something like a big BC session, compound lifts involved, pushing that to 40 grams of protein. So think like a double scoop shake, 2 chicken breasts, something like that. Just because you've tore a lot of muscle, your body needs to sort of get that repair in. If you're sort of in rehab, sort of where you've got limited limb function or you're not doing a heavy session, 25 grams is fine. But if you are looking for them BC sessions, push up to 40. And I think for me, when I sort of looked at that was a big recovery tick in the box for me. As soon as I went to that double scoop post a big lifting session, it made the world of difference. My recovery was a lot better. If you compare it with the carbohydrate, they work really well together. So again, as I come back to your milkshake, get that in you. It's got, I think like the Elite Body Yazoo for me works out as like, 0.8 grams of carbohydrates, 0.4 grams of protein. And it's like the ideal thing for me. Again, not ideal if I've just done a sort of general like mobility session. That is far too much. But if I was doing something like a long low calorie, big gym session with a Metcon in it, that is what you need. And people again say, it's too much. It depends on your need and your demand. A lot of people as well, when they think, too much, that's too much protein. It's only ever really too much protein, in fact, if it affects your other macronutrients. So if, you're getting too much protein and it's at the cost of carbohydrates when you're still doing a lot of runs and all that, then maybe regress it back. It's why standards have endurance athletes, because they're doing a lot more long distance running. Their demand is lower to a strength athlete who won't be doing as reliant on carbohydrates as much.
Makes
so
sense.
Again, it's just doing what you need. If you find you run a lot more, don't sacrifice carbohydrates, because again, you need to make sure you're within your calories. Too much, too over, you're going to put on weight on. And again, if you're not getting it, then you're obviously going to not perform.
So good protein sources for someone that, is just going to the shops or just wants, like good food at home. We're looking chicken, aren't we? Like beef mince, steak, eggs, fish.
Eggs, fish.
Turkey's
really good. Lean. Again, it's eggs, whey protein, beef. They're really good bioavailable sources. They come with all the amino acids you need. Key one for muscle growth development for guys we're going to think about is leucine. Again, that is really found in studies to really help muscle development. So if you are trying to get fucking massive for beefer, eggs, milk, beef, all that sort of good, we're helping you with that. If someone is vegetarian, it's not the end of the world. Obviously, if it says it's not as great, you will need to pair things. You may need to supplement a bit more, just because plant sources aren't as bioavailable or don't have as much compared to animal sources. So that's where you need pear, your pulses, your beans, your zooms. Sometimes they can take milk on. They might need to use sort of a pea protein or something like that, tofu a bit more, just to sort of get their needs to meet protein demands.
Happy with that, mate. Top 3 tips on protein.
Protein, get what you need total body protein. Adjust what you need for after session as well. So say between that 20 to 40 grams is going to be prime.
Depending how you
do.
Yeah.
And just find what works for you and space it out throughout the day is your next best thing. There's also a nice little win of milk before bed. Just again, it gives you a nice little protein top up before you go sleep. And if you're trying to get 9 hours optimal sleep a night, essentially that sort of 3 windows of protein sources you're missing by getting the milk before bed, timing, you're going to sort of hit throughout the night where your digestion slows down. You've still got some protein inside your system, so then you're less affected when you wake up in the morning.
Because on that, when you go to sleep, 8 hours, that's 8 hours you're not eating for, isn't it? Like during the day, when do you not eat for 8 hours?
Exactly, yeah. And they try and say, if you can get hit a protein every 3 to 4 hours, it's good, and that just helps as well around your training. So then there's something beforehand, and then you've got another window straight after training where you're going to have synthesis.
Cool. So, happy with that. You've really explained protein, carbs, and fats to me well. I get it. I've got a sort of couple of questions though. So one, I'm training for the Royal Marines, but I'm only 16. I live at home with my mum and dad. they cook my meals for me, they get the shopping in, and I just have whatever's there. You know, what can I do, or what can I say to my parents to try and help accommodate this new food that I need to be having to help my performance?
Yeah, it's the first thing is you understand that, obviously, if you are, there's a limit of your parents, and it's all in good going to your mum saying, yeah, I now need to eat 6 times a day, I need finest chicken fillets, beef here, Greek yogurt in the morning.
She's just seeing the shopping bill going,
yeah, the shopping bill goes through the roof, and it's like, you're not having it, out you go.
Yeah.
Again, it comes back to the old thing, do the best you can. So, you know, if simple meals are probably going to be key, so, you know, like egg on toast, if you can have a bit of crushed avocado with it, that's going to be really good. Greek yogurt, again, if Greek yogurt's a bit too expensive, you know, look at another source, like it's not as great, but like Greek style yogurt has less protein in it, but it's still thinking then mixing it with other, if you've got protein, anything like that, you can mix it with. And again, it's just key, simple ingredients. You might find that, you know, they're quite willing to change, because if they eat a set way, they're going to benefit from improved nutrition as well. So again, sometimes we find a lot of cases just educate the parents and the kids then follow. You know, if parents got poor nutritional habits, you're more than likely going to see a child with poor nutritional habits. So it's just a case of it, get parents to understand that, okay, instead of getting the turkey twizzlers out of the fridge, can we change that to turkey steaks?
Yeah.
Can we change the chips to sweet potato fries?
So then to the parent, it doesn't even need to cost more money. I could say, Mum, stop buying me the pudding that I have after, and just one of them bags of frozen chicken breasts. And I'll have the chicken with my dinner.
Chicken, frozen stuff, frozen fruit, a lot cheaper than the fresh stuff. Yeah. If you can get fresh, great.
Yeah.
If you can't, like, regress it back to the frozen stuff, just do the best you can. And everyone says, it costs a lot more. And yes, when you pair it side by side, there is a difference in cost. However, when I talk back to quality, so the chicken nuggets, less nutritionally valuable, less nutrition good for you, less protein in comparison to the chicken breast. If you then need to meet the needs, you have to buy more chicken nuggets. So then the cost goes up that way. So even though you don't see it initially, when you compare it to what the before sort of a more processed diet is, to meet the same demands, you need to buy more of it. Whereas you can be more efficient, throw away a few things that you don't need, or, you know, reduce on certain things where you can, and you'll end up finding the cost isn't too different. Your health improves, your performance improves, and it's sort of an easy win.
Happy with that. And my final question then, so I'm actually someone joining in the Royal Marines who's like 20, 21, a little bit older. I am buying my own food now. I'm going down to Aldi. I've not got a massive budget. But, you know, what sort of things could I pick up walking around? I'm picturing my Aldi now, the walk in, the loot, right? What sort of easy wins could I pick up instead of what I buy now, which is just, you know, general stuff that I've always had? What could I pick up?
Again, it looks like what it's you. So nothing wrong with chicken thighs, generally cheaper, a bit more fat content.
Then big plastic packets.
Big plastic, then you get a lot more chicken thigh compared to the breast. Again, go to the frozen aisle if you need to. The key thing I always try when I do my shop is I base my meal around my protein. So key thing around, you walk in, you go to the meals on there. Okay, is it start of the month? Chicken breast. End of the month, it's probably going to be chicken. It's probably going to be frozen chicken now. Okay, and then get your meals, and then right, am I training this day, this session, what am I doing? Then your carbohydrates, okay, sweet potato for this, pasta for this, and it's just simple. You know, it's a bit more processed, but it's not the end of the world. Do what you can with what you can. It's all well and good me saying, you know, you need to spend this, this, and this. If your budget doesn't match it, it's a no-win. And the key things in anything sort of in health and fitness is it needs to be sustainable. You can have the best nutrition plan in the world, best training program in the world. If it's not able to be consistent with your needs, you're just going to leave it, and then you're not going to get better, and it doesn't matter. Yeah. Again, make sure you get fresh food whenever you can. Berries, fruits, link them in, they're going to be key for micronutrients.
You can get them big bags of frozen berries from Aldi, can't you? Like frozen strawberries, frozen blueberries, summer fruits, all that.
Yeah.
And just some of those.
Exactly that. And I think a key thing for guys as well is avoid sort of the fads. So anything that's got protein printed on it in massive writing, like tracker bars and all that, they're prime protein. They have about 8 grams per bar, which is nothing. It is not a high protein. If you think of something like Greek yogurt, might be a little bit expensive, but Greek yogurt, zero fat Greek yogurt has like 9, 10 grams per 100 grams. Much better for what you're going to need for your training. So yeah, avoid the fads the best you can. Wherever you can, you know, progress, as I said, frozen's, you know, the minimum. And then at least if you can get fresh every now and again, get fresh whenever you can. And then just look at certain sources where if it's a higher fat content, you'll probably find it's cheaper. But again, you can still do things like remove the fat from it. It's going to reduce it down a little bit.
You can really simply just pick up some chicken, air fry it, pick up some sweet potato, chop it, air fry it, some frozen veg, simple, isn't it?
It's as simple as that.
Everything you need.
Yeah.
Even what I do, I'll get a 750 gram pack of beef mince, fry it all off, throw in some gravy granules, throw in some onion, a little bit of garlic.
That's the northerner coming out.
That is, yeah, anything with gravy, yeah. Break it up for 4 days, mix it with rice, mix it with veg. Happy days.
Yeah.
It's a week food almost done, you know, just in a packet of mince. And
if you can batch buy stuff as well, you'll generally find that it's a lot more easier to do. Get a few 3 days worth of meals in one. It probably comes out a little bit cheaper as well. It's going to be the key thing for you.
And then the one thing that's free, well, we all pay for it, is water. You know, drink water, hydrate. You're training massive.
Hydration is key. I think everyone plays lip service. I always look at it, every time you have a meal or snack, have a glass of water with it throughout the day. If you're training, drink to thirst during, and then make sure afterwards, again, water on board as well, because water's a massive thing. I think people pay too much lip service to, and it's like a tiny percent of loss through dehydration affects your VO2 max, affects your endurance, affects your cognitive thought, which are key things when you're in training, trying to make times or trying to make decisions. You know, dehydration is a big thing that can affect your output. So nail on the head there, water is the key thing as well throughout all this.
Cheers, mate. Thanks so much for your time. Loads of info there, and I think the lads will get loads out of that. Cheers, Bambi.
Cheers,
What's up, mate? Bye.